Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you. I hope I'm audible and you're able to hear my voice clearly. All right. We are about to start the session in another just 1 minute. Meanwhile, now on your screen, you will just get a quick poll, just two quick answers to just get to know the audience, your background, and the level of education that you are at, so that we will be able to articulate the session accordingly so that it benefits all. So just check out for the questions and quickly answer those. All right. So I think I'm ending the poll now very quickly, and then we can start to get into the subject. Okay. So as I can see here from the poll, most of you are from the chemistry background, and I think subject-wise, biotechnology also are there, few of them, and some other subjects as well, and biochemistry. And most of you are at the bachelor's level, obviously. Okay, so you are at the very basic level, so let's do it accordingly. All right. So hello, everyone. My name is Jitesh, and I'll be your instructor for very quick introduction to this field of cheminformatics or cheminformatics. So let's get started. First of all, what is the agenda for today? What we're going to learn about? So cheminformatics is a very fascinating field because it allows you to do variety of different types of studies on a computer by using different types of techniques, different software, different tools available out there. In this very quick introduction, we will learn what are the bases of cheminformatics, what are its applications, what exactly does it do, and maybe some basic demonstrations of how to perform some simpler tasks, how to maybe create or treat the molecular structures, how to compute their basic properties, and so many other things we will quickly look at. So let's get started. In the between, if you feel there is any questions, any queries, any doubt you want, if you want to elaborate on, if you want me to elaborate on something, if you want, don't get clarified with something, just let me know anytime. You can use the Q&A panel to post your questions. So I will be intermittently going through the questions and answering them. And even at the end of the session, we'll keep 5-7 minutes for the Q&A. So in case some of your questions are not answered, we will discuss them at the end of the session. So let's start with introduction to cheminformatics. First of all, what the cheminformatics mean? As the name suggests, it is an amalgamation of two terms or the two fields, chemistry or the chemical sciences, chemical data, and informatics, which is information-based sciences, typically which includes the statistics and computer science. which allows us to develop novel algorithms, novel solutions to existing problems. So essentially, it's an application of computational tools and techniques and many other methods which help us solve the problems in chemical structures or chemical data. It involves variety of processes. So typically we deal with the chemical structure information, and that structural information can be interpreted in variety of different ways depending on the goal of our study, and these tools help us achieve those different goals. It's nothing but variety of resources which we use to transform the data, that is a raw information that we collect either from experiments or from surveys or from the other observations. We use this information and we turn it into a knowledge. That's a typical process of any informatics field: to get the data, process the data, generate information, analyze, interpret the information, and generate new knowledge from this. It is a typical for anything. And in this process, there are lots of difficulties, lots of hurdles which come, like inavailability of the resources, the cost involved in the experiments, or the timeline that it takes to achieve something. So for all of these different things, computational solutions are often looked at in a simpler objective, so that if we have something that can automate and speed up the process of any discovery, that's definitely a good thing to deal with. And that's where cheminformatics plays its part. It allows us to process this data in a much faster capacity and in variety of broad spectrum analysis. One of the key application of this field has been in terms of the drug discovery and the pharmaceutical industry in general. So drug discovery is one of the key hot topic of today's world, because we need more and more useful drugs for variety of different diseases. And the process itself is a very elongated, elaborate process. So to cut down the cost as well as time involved, cheminformatics can help. We'll see some of the applications just in some time. The field is relatively new. It's been there for some time, but the still the approaches, the different techniques in that needs to be standardized as per the field. And that's the reason we have these different nomenclatures for the same field. Different spellings are also there in different parts of the world. So whenever you're looking for some resources about this, these are the things you can just look for. And that's the reason it still has a lot of opportunities and lots of prospects in career for this field. Now, what exactly cheminformatics field does? What are these techniques? How do they work? We'll learn about these resources also. So it provides computer algorithm and different tools which can store, distribute, and analyze the chemical data. So we can work in the entire pipeline of chemical data at different levels. First, we can store this information that comes from experiments. So these kind of resources, like some databases, they provide us a simple mean of reaching to a huge amount of data available out there in the real world. So we can get a quick access, we can search through this data, we can organize this data as per our requirement. The second is distribution. There are a variety of specialized file formats have been developed to store and distribute this data among different softwares and different people. So that distribution is also part of this pipeline. And ultimately, our aim is to analyze. For analysis, we have a variety of different types of software and algorithm for data analysis. So databases for storing, file formats for distribution, and software or algorithms for analysis. These are the different types of resources we will be looking at. One of the key things that databases can help us achieve is easy reach to millions of compounds which are available. So if you look at the chemical structure universe, which is known to us, it's huge and it deals with literally millions and millions of compounds in a particular aspect. So what this particular software or databases will deal with, they will give you very quick access to all these different compounds, no matter what is the number, but you can all store them quickly in one go. You can download everything and work with that for your any process. It does create a niche for an easy experimentation using what we call as a dry lab or in silico experiments. So usually to do any scientific work, we use experiments as a way to prove a certain aspect or find out something or answer a certain question. So experiments that we do in laboratory in different glassware, we call them as in vitro experiments. The experiments we perform in uh, animal cells or animal models, will call them as in vivo experiments. The experiments we do in an environment or a habitat in a physical world, we call them as, or in a field, in situ experiments. Similarly, all the experiments that we perform in a computer, those are called as in silico or dry lab experiments. So they allow us to create an alternate experimentation to answer some scientific question. Obviously, it all depends on the available data. Only if the data regarding a certain question is available, then you should be able to use these tools to perform those experiments on a computer without having to buy any chemicals or set up any huge experiments in the laboratory. So that's what exactly this field does. It derives information from the knowledge, as we already have established that, and it helps in proactively designing and filtering compounds for real world use. So chemical structures could be of variety of nature. We may even design completely new chemical structures, but are those chemical structures that we are designing synthetically or on a computer, are they viable? Can they be used for real world use or applications? So for that, we have different types of filtering processes, what we call as virtual screening, which can help us filter the compounds based on our own requirement. So let's say, for example, you have a library of 100,000 compounds which you want to use, but you only want those compounds for certain chemical reaction which only contain, let's say, some specific aspect, secondary amine, for example. Now, if you want to manually screen through all that, it will take a long time. But what if we can ask a computer to exactly do the same by using something like a substructure search, through which they can quickly scan through all these structures of compounds and give us only those compounds which contain the secondary amines or any other requirement. Let's say you only want the compounds with molecular weight less than 500. So the property based requirements or the filtering can be also useful in the chemical world. So these are some of the key areas in which these field or these software may work. The spectroscopic studies about the compound and their relationships, the environmental hazard or other kind of compounds can be studied. In pharmacology, to understand the interaction of these compounds with the biological system, we can use these tools. In the regulations, we can understand some things like PKPD, for example, of the molecules, and use that. We can predict by using these tools the toxic effects of the compounds or toxicity of the compounds. We can derive a lot of chemical and physical properties of the molecules by using these softwares and models available. Overall, we can also model different chemical reactions and different type of structures of molecules by using this entire toolkit. Obviously, for each one of the domain, we have a different set of tools and techniques available. Some tools and techniques can be generalized to be used in any case. So that's what it does. Going forward, what do you need when you step up into the field of cheminformatics? What exactly is what you are expected to have? And if you learn this field properly, if you learn all the techniques in this, what you will get in return. So what do you need is nothing but a simple interest in learning about the computers, and obviously no hesitation to try out new stuff. As you are coming from the background of chemistry or biotechnology, you may not have enough information about the different types of computational software or algorithms or different types of uh, uh, programming languages available. So just you should have an open mind, and with a basic understanding of chemistry, you should be able to pull that out. Okay, someone has raised hand. Yeah, you can go ahead and ask the question. You can type your question directly. Don't have to raise hand for this. I'll answer it as and when I go through the questions. Okay. So here you can see that you need does just that. Obviously, we do use the computers on our daily basis to access internet, to write our reports, to watch some documents or anything. But to be able to use the algorithms in their native forms, it does take some practice in order to get there. So that's all you need, and a little bit of creative mind to find the new novel things or creative things, and that's all. With your basic understanding of your own subject, you should be able to apply the computational tools effectively in any domain. As you all know, we are living in a bit of a digital world, and everything is run by computers to a very great extent. All the scientific fields also make use of these computational tools very effectively to reduce the amount of time it takes to perform something and to reduce the cost associated with such experiments. Now, when you learn these techniques, what you can expect, what are the next things for you? Definitely, whenever you are performing any kind of a research project, let's say you go for a PhD or you're working with some company where you want to perform some experiments and you want to optimize it. So this kind of tools provide you with a very smart choice for an alternate experimentation. So rather than directly going to uh, the experiments of a compound, you can first choose which compound has the best properties based on the computational studies and only set up experiments for those few. So which will reduce or narrow down your search. It allows you to have faster and cheaper alternative to your basic preliminary lead generation and optimization. So the lead compounds that you need for different purposes like drug designing, target modulation. So it gives you the faster and cheaper alternative to perform, because you just need a computer and these softwares, most of which are free. So we can use that. Now you will be able to reach to more diverse knowledge base, and this you can include a huge chemical space in your work. So as I mentioned here, if you know how to access the databases and information correctly from the internet, you can include more number of molecular structures or chemical search space in your work. So reaching to all these different chemical structures, compounds, their information, their properties becomes very easy with the cheminformatics tools. Definitely, when you, in terms of the career opportunities, when you go to any job prospect with your peers and you have the technical knowledge of these kind of tools, you have obvious added advantage of being better than other human resources, which usually only have the experimental or domain specific knowledge. So these are some of the things which help you in this long run. Now, let's very quickly look at the scope of cheminformatics. The major scope of cheminformatics is in the pharma industry, of course, and as I mentioned, the drug designing being a very useful field where it is used in a much extent. In this, we have variety of tools in the entire drug discovery pipeline. Overall, collectively, we know this as computer-aided drug discovery or computer-aided drug design, where we take a help or assistance from the computer to develop and design new drugs in a lesser amount of time. The second is the synthetic chemistry. These tools allow you to explore the chemical structure universe by synthesizing the compounds virtually and then quickly testing them within the computer before you go ahead and really synthesize them. As you know, synthesizing the new compounds, new molecules could be a very technical, tedious, and costly affair. But with the help of these tools, you should be able to first design and study the compounds on the screen. Then once you're happy with the predicted results of this software, then you can go ahead and actually synthesize only the possibly good compounds. So in that industry also, you have a vast amount of opportunities for using the cheminformatics field. Another scope is in general structure activity relationship. Now, you all already know that structure activity relationship is a very integral and important part of the chemical studies. It entails that the chemical structures or structures of the different molecules, they have a strong relationship with the activity. So if the two molecules have similar structures, probably they will have similar properties or similar activities. Or when you see two molecules with the exactly same activity or same property, there is a good chance that they may have similar structures. So this relationship between the structure of a compound and the activity of the compound, maybe biological activity, maybe toxic activity, maybe some other chemical activity. So if we could model this structure activity relationship, we can use that relationship to design new such compounds or detect new compounds which has the similar activity just based on their structures. So there is a field in cheminformatics which is called as QSAR, by which you should be able to use this. There are many ways to generate these relationships, but one of them is QSAR. Another is in general chemical properties estimation. So for variety of experiments, variety of reasons, we need many different types of properties of the compounds to be listed or computed. For example, drug likeness of a compound. So if these are the compounds I have and I want to use in a drug discovery, then what is the chance that this will actually work? So this property is called as a drug likeness. It tells us how likely it is that a molecule that you have can be acted as an oral drug. So for example, if you're using some kind of compounds and you want to let's say chemical waste, for example, that you need to throw into a water body. Now, the minimal requirement is that you should have done some toxicity calculations for those before you can dump any one of these compounds into any nearby water body. So in order to do that, every time you cannot afford to perform the calculations or experiments to compute the toxicity of the molecules. So that we can create the models of toxicity and use it for prediction. Or if you want to estimate some basic chemical properties, maybe the chemical spectra, the mass spectra, how would that look like? Or you want to compute the properties like the lipophilicity or partition coefficient, or you want to compute the things like the charges for any reason. So all of this can be very easily done with the help of computational tools that we have to our advantage, which come under the cheminformatics. In today's world, the cheminformatics is a much needed subject. It allows you to, as I mentioned, explore the entire chemical structure universe which is known. So I have been referring to this term chemical structure universe constantly. What does it mean? It's nothing but an imaginary space which consists of all the possible chemical structures. Now, some part of that universe we already know. Those compounds have been either synthesized or it has been identified from the nature, or it has been found somewhere in animals, in humans, and so on. Together, this makes up the known structure universe. But beyond that, there is an unknown structure universe that we can explore by using these tools. Because when it comes to the human mind, we do have a limitation as to how many and what kind of compounds we can really generate. We will use some references, and on top of that, we will build. But with the help of computers, you don't have those limitations. You can explore as much chemical space as you need in order to perform some of these studies. In order to overcome some of the limitations of the current drug discovery and drug target, there is a vast amount of druggable proteins, around 5,000 different proteins in humans, which still need some specific inhibitors or specific drugs to modulate their activities. So these cheminformatics tools can provide a much easier and faster way of reaching out and filling that gap and generating new drugs for specific targets in the biological system. So that is why you need to be aware of these tools for cheminformatics and learn them, so you can apply these in variety of different aspects. The drug discovery, which is the main aspect for applications of cheminformatics, it actually consists of two overlapping terms, cheminformatics and bioinformatics. So just like we define cheminformatics as a computational tools and techniques used to study the chemical systems, similarly, when we study the biological molecules or biological systems in the similar tools, we call that as a bioinformatics. There is a good overlap between these two, which understands and studies the interaction between the chemical systems and the biological systems together in the field of what we call as a computer-aided drug discovery. So that's a very quick introduction to what chemoinformatics is, what are its applications and major areas, and what are the things that you can do in this. Okay. Now we will look at what kind of resources or softwares are available, what can we do with those, and so on. So before that, any question, any queries, anything that you want to ask, let me know. All right, so let's go ahead. Okay, the question is chemoinformatics related to geoinformatics in any way? Absolutely not. Informatics may be the common term there, but the tools and techniques are very different. Geoinformatics, as the name suggests, it is useful for the geological information and its analysis. So definitely not. So there are various types of informatics fields. There is a chemical and chemoinformatics, bioinformatics, geoinformatics, as you mentioned, health informatics, medical informatics, clinical informatics. So each one of the informatics field is different from each other. Informatics specifically means that dealing with information with a computational and statistical tools. So based on what information we are dealing with, that will be a different case for each field. Okay, so now let's see what kind of tools the chemoinformatics provides us and what are the different types of those, and then we will look at some of the things. These are some of the tools. Obviously there are many more, but these are just some of the fields I have highlighted. So when you enter the field, you will get lots of useful software. First, we have the class of tools which are called as drawing and editing tools. These are the most basic, simplest forms of the software available. They allow us to draw different chemical structures, chemical reactions. They help us edit and build more structures from them. They help us compute some really basic properties of the molecules based on the existing models and so on. The second class of tools or resources that chemoinformatics provides us, these are called as databases. Databases is simply nothing but a collection of information. This is where all the known information about a certain topic is stored in a very systematic, very organized manner. What uh, what is application of that? It makes every information accessible to everybody, and that too in a much systematic way. So searching for certain information becomes very easy because of this databases. The next set of resources or the tools that we have, these are called as library preparation tools. So in any typical chemoinformatics or chemical studies or drug discovery studies, you will be dealing with a large number of chemical structures. This set of chemical structures that you use as a starting material, it is called as a complete library. The compound library or molecular library. And to create such different types of specific libraries, you can use this particular tools of chemoinformatics. Okay, there is another question. Molecular docking tools are included in chemoinformatics. Yes, molecular docking tools are included both in chemoinformatics as well as bioinformatics, because as you can see, it's an overlap between the bio and chemoinformatics. So when you learn chemoinformatics, obviously along with docking, you will be learning a lot of other techniques as well. And when you're only looking at molecular docking as a tool, that definitely is a part of chemoinformatics. You will be learning separately or with chemoinformatics as well. Okay. Now the next set of tools that we have are called as prediction tools. So whenever you need to predict certain types of properties of the molecule which you don't want to compute experimentally, you can use again these kind of tools. So for example, let's say the property like log p or a partition coefficient. So partition coefficient of a molecule or a compound is very important to be able to consider it for the drug discovery purposes. Now, if you take that particular compound or the chemical and you want to find the partition coefficient, you will have to set up an elaborate experiment and you will compute that particular value. But what if you have 1,000 compounds? Will it be easy to perform those experiments for all 1,000? No. But would it be helpful if we have some kind of a software just by giving the structure of the compound? It tells us about the log P or the partition coefficient about tau. So there are many such properties for which we have the prediction softwares available. They can predict us, for example, toxicity prediction, for example, activity prediction. All of this can be done by using these tools. And finally, we have the tools for molecular modeling, as Meenakshi just pointed out about the docking tools. So many a times we need to model these chemical structures in their proper utility in the chemical environment. Like, for example, will these molecules be able to interact with the certain other molecules or not? So we are modeling the reaction between these two molecules by using tools which we call as molecular docking tools, which are extension of molecular modeling. Or you want to find out a time dependent behavior of a certain chemical system, you can model the system by using molecular dynamics simulation. So there are a variety of advanced techniques available in these tools which you can use for molecular studies. So here one term that you have again we have referred to is a chemical space or chemical structure universe. As you can see this small quote on the right hand side, for chemists, it is important to appreciate that the chemical space occupied by all possible chemical structures. So space which is occupied by all possible means the ones that we know as well as the ones we do not know or have never seen. So is in principle infinite. So in order to look through or kind of cover the maximum amount of chemical search space, we need some kind of an algorithm which will be able to perform these studies. And that's what we mean by exploring the chemical search space. Now, when it comes to the software's availability, there are two major divisions we draw in terms of their utility. There are some resources which come under the category of free resources. So this is what we will be talking about because all of you are still at the kind of academic stage. So these are the best ones. And there are some tools which are commercial. So as the name suggests, the free resources for cheminformatics are usually free and open source for academic and research purposes. So you don't have to pay any fees to acquire these software. You can directly download or use them free of charge. On the other hand, the commercial tools, they are obviously very, very costly. You have to pay a very huge amount of money in order to get the license for these commercial software. Now, does it mean that the commercial software are always better than free resources? Well, it's not like that. You still will get the similar result by both, but we will see the differences where they are. So when you are at the learning phase or the research early career phase of the research, these free resources can provide you with very easy access. They are available easily for everyone to use. But these commercial will be difficult to have access because largely of the financial constraints. These are very costly. But the disadvantage or the limitation of the free resources is that these software or these tools are all dispersed. Every software is completely different from one other. So for property calculation, we have a different software. For editing, we have a different. For modeling, we have a different. For performing some other calculations is different. And each one looks different, works differently, because of which there is a steep learning curve at the beginning. Like you need to invest a little bit of time to learn about this all different individually. On the other hand, the commercial tools are very easy to use. They are made in the user friendliness in mind. That's why they charge you so much of money, because they create very useful graphical interfaces and make it easy for anybody to use these tools. Second thing is that all of these tools will be available under the same facility, same software suite. So you don't have to download individually different things. So for example, there is a very popular drug discovery tool or cheminformatics tool called as Schrodinger. So everything you need, starting from the basic editing to even perform the high level molecular dynamics or to generate the QSR model, everything is present in the same software, all the facilities. So you don't have to install multiple things, but obviously it's very costly. Or another example is Discovery Studio and so on. But in this case, there is no user friendliness for sure. It's every software is not very user friendly, but it will give you the same result once you work with that. So that's why it's a little tedious to work with, but ultimately it can perform the required task free of cost. So obviously free means something will be there which is making it free. So these scientists, these researchers which work on developing this tool, they only focus on the results orientedness or the accuracy of the results rather than focusing on how easy it is for people to use. So that's why these are little bit difficult. But again, when you are just starting, why not to go with the free resources rather than paying? So for every commercial tool you also have some or the other free tool available for that as an alternative. So these are the types of resources and the overall architecture, how they work. Okay. Any queries, any questions regarding this part? I think it was very basic introduction. Now that we have learned about some basics of this, what chemoinformatics field is all about, let's dig a little bit deeper and start looking at some of these tools. Or obviously, in this very limited time that we have, we will not be able to explore each and every aspect of this field. But let's see how much ever we can discuss, or at least I can show you the faces of the software. This should be something to deal with. Okay, so let's see. The first we will very quickly discuss about is a database. Databases provide us with an easy access to lots of information which is available out there in the scientific community or through publications. And then we will look at some of the software which can deal with the structures that we get from the databases and find more information about them. Okay. So we discussed about the chemical search space, that there is a huge amount of molecules which we know and some of them we don't know. So this chemical search space that we are talking about so much can be defined by these numbers to some extent. So if you look at any average pharma company screening library that they use for different type of studies against diseases and drugs, it's around 10 raised to 6. That's the average size molecules in a library. If you look at all the commercially available compounds that we have today in the market, chemical market, it's around 10 raised to 7. If we combine all of these compounds by using the virtual combinations or combinatorial library, these are around 10 raised to 12. And if you still further go and try to find all the possible chemical structures with some given restrictions for drug likeness, we can easily get to around 10 raised to 60 compounds. Now, dealing with such a huge number is not an easy task, and that's where we need a specified software tools to deal with these numbers. So for the known compounds, the commercially available compounds, we have the different library or different databases. I'm not going to talk about everything. So these are some of the very useful databases which are present online, which store the information about these chemical structures, their properties, their experiments, everything. So the first and the most popular database in this regard this is world's largest collection of freely accessible chemical information, which includes lots of different compounds, different other substances or samples, and all the activity or other experiments that has been done on them through bioassays. So we will very quickly look at this database, that how does it store information, what information can you get from this particular database and so on. Another popular database specifically in terms of the drug discovery is a commercially available, Zinc database, which contains huge number of commercially available compound libraries. So apart from the general open source compounds that are available, this also has huge number of commercial compounds or the screening libraries, which are stored in some pharmaceutical companies or some other synthetic chemistry companies. It contains over 230 million ready to purchase compounds and more than around 750 million different other compounds which are available through screening libraries, so they can be purchased or synthesized later. So these are the numbers which are very huge, and they give you that all access. Then we have Chembl, which specifically stores the data about compounds for which the biological activities are known. NCI, which only stores the compounds related to the cancer. And there are so many, like there are databases dedicated to the compounds which are found in the natural products like plants. There are databases for other natural products like animal sources or marine life sources and so on. So for every type of this information, if it always try to Google everything, that will not lead us anywhere. It will either you will have an incomplete information, or you might kind of miss some of the useful information. So these databases make it a point to organize systematically every piece of information that is available out there so that we can easily access it. So let's have a look at this database of compounds called PubChem and what it contains, what information. Has any one of you used PubChem before for any work, any reason, any assignments? Let me see how many of you use that. Okay. All right. I don't think many people have used PubChem. So, all right. Let's very quickly go through the database and what does it have. So on Google, you can simply search for PubChem. PubChem is a database of compounds which is hosted at National Library of Medicine, which is a part of National Institute of Health, USA. As you can see, it is a tool or an online database to explore chemistry. So you can perform a lot of different operations, similarity checking, and lots of things we will learn about. Here, you can quickly find any chemical information that you want. You can search the database by giving the name of the chemical compound that you want. You can search the database by giving any term associated with the compound, like its property, its function. You can search by giving the chemical formula, or you can give by some other representations used for chemical structures. Currently, if you look at the statistics of this data, there are around more than 111 million compounds stored in this database. These are the unique compounds we're talking about. 277 million substances. Substances are essentially like samples. So one substance can contain multiple compounds. It's a set of compounds, and one compound may be present in multiple substances. So that's why you have a huge number of substances or samples which are collected. Then there is a data about 293 million bioactivity assays about these compounds which are available, and other things like literature regarding those compounds, the patents, and so on. To define precisely, PubChem is the largest collection of freely accessible chemical information where you can perform the data search by the name, molecular formula, structure, and other identifiers. You can find information like physical properties, biological properties, safety and toxicity information, patents, literature, and many more. So let's start with some example search to understand the extent of information available for each one of the compound. Let's search. Okay, someone just mentioned aspirin. Let's start with that aspirin. So when we start typing, it can also give us some suggestions as to what your search might mean, just like Google does. If your search is any specific one, maybe a name of the compound or the gene that you're looking for or any taxonomical classifications, you can select it. But right now what we'll do, we'll directly search for this text keyword and see what does it give. So when you learn or when you search this particular database, it will give you this kind of a result page where it will show you all the entries in the database which are related to aspirin. As aspirin itself is a one individual molecule, it will also give you the first entry, which is the best compound match, which is the compound's best match. This will be the molecule that you're looking for mostly. And there could be other molecules with the similar name, like different forms of aspirin, different modifications to aspirin. So all of this will be listed under this compounds tab below. For each one of this entry, the information given is just a very small summary, like what it means, what are the different names by which the molecule is called, how the structure would look like, the molecular formula, a unique identification number given to each compound, molecular weight, and other things that are known. Below each one of this, you will find information on tools or algorithms to find other similar structures. So let's say you are dealing with a certain class of molecules and you want to figure out how many other compounds are there which are very similar to my compound. Because if your compound has a certain information, then you might be interested in looking for other molecules with the same kind of possible properties. So that's why we can look for similar structure search by using this technique. You can look for many other information as well. As you scroll below for the result table, you will find that there are 120 compounds which are related to aspirin. There are 615 substances which contain the aspirin. So for example, we have this substance which is furinal or dolomo, which contains aspirin plus some other things as well in combination. So that becomes a substance. Aspirin may also be present in another. So we have veganin, which again contains aspirin plus some other drugs as well, maybe a combination therapy, anything. Then there are, if there are any synthetic pathways available for the aspirin, you have those available in this and many other information. But right now we will restrict ourselves to only the compounds information and not other. So to read the full information about that chemical compound, you can click on this button or this link on the title, which will take you to the actual entry in a database which relates to aspirin. So here you will see that on the right hand side, the contents of the page. So you can see there are 19 different headers, 19 different categories under which this information is classified. So you can imagine the amount of information that it provides us. Now, depending on for what purpose you are trying to use this database, you may be interested only in certain amount of information. So we will not go through all of that, just talk about some of the useful things. So the first is a summary table, title and summary, which gives you some quick review of what molecule is, like how does the 2D, 3D structures look like. If the experimentally derived crystal structure is available of the molecule that you would see here. Then if there is any chemical safety label attached to this, that you will see here, the molecular formula, all the other names by which this can be called upon, the molecular weight of the compound, date when it was deposited, if any information about it, function or activity or toxicity, it will be there. When you scroll below, then it will start the structure where it will actually show you the molecular structure of that compound that you look for. You can also easily download the structure by using this download button in different formats. We'll very quickly go over some of the common formats. You can also get the image of that structure. This is a 2D simplified representation of the structure, but the conformer of the structure can also be downloaded as a 3D structure where you can rotate the molecule, look at that structure in different ways, change some of these properties, and download this 3D coordinates of this structure as well. The next is crystal structure. This is present only if it is available, otherwise it's not available for all. Now, there are many different types of nomenclature systems in chemistry, and all of these different types of nomenclatures are reported here, like the IUPAC name, the NCHR keys, the canonical SMILES representation, molecular formula which is used for this compound in different ways, or any other identifiers are there, so you can easily collect your information. Then you have the important things, the chemical and physical properties. The first column or first table is a computationally computed properties by the software. So software, there's a software in the background. They have calculated these properties like molecular weight, log P, hydrogen bond donors, acceptors, the exact mass of the compound, then polar surface area, number of heavy atoms, isotope atoms, and many other things. So these are can be very simply computed by these PubChem software. Then many compounds also has these properties from the experimentally proven data. So that information also you can file under experimental properties. It includes physical description like the form, the color, odor of the each compound, then the boiling points, melting points at different experimental levels. Then we have flash points and solubility calculated at certain experimental conditions. So every information that you may need to study your chemical structure is very well and properly organized here. It all comes from different other resources, different publications, different experimental results all together. Going forward, you have the spectral information. If the spectral studies has been done, you can see the standard reference spectra for this particular molecule. This is 1H NMR spectra, and we have some other 13C NMR spectra as well, depending on what you're looking at. If you want to directly order these compounds, if you're interested, the chemical vendors are also given from where you can get this compound. If it is coming under the drugs category, you will have information like drugs and medication information, like, you know, what does it do, what are the ways in which it works, how it is taken, what is the standard recommended dosage. So all the medicine information you will get here. Then if it has any toxicity, it will show you the toxicity as well, the class of drugs to which it belongs to, and many other things. It will also show you the pharmacology information and the biochemistry information of that, which deals with telling you exactly how does it work, how does it interact with the biological system, which enzyme it inhibits, or which protein it binds to, and so on. So lots of information will be there related to that. Then we have manufacturing and use, safety hazards, toxicity, and lots of other useful information. Let's look at biological test result, which will show you the testing against biological targets for that molecule, which is available, and so on. So you can see that for each of the 111 million compounds, you have this enormous amount of information. So you can simply search here and get whatever molecule you want. Let's very quickly test another molecule. So why don't any one of you give me one molecule that you want to, maybe you are interested in learning more. Just type the name of any molecule in the chat window. Maybe we can take one or two as an example. Phenol, okay. Okay, so one of the we have got is phenol. Now phenol is a simple chemical compound, benzene attached to an OH group. Let's search for it. So you will directly get the results for a phenol as a compound's best match. Other names by which this can be called upon, some basic summary information. And then we can click on this to actually open this entry where you will get information on its 2D and 3D structures. Phenol is a planar molecule, so it will not have any 3D structure as such. The crystal structure is available. So how do the different molecules of the same compound, how do they arrange themselves in a crystal? Do they form any internal bonding? All that details you can find here. So you can find the 2D and 3D structures, which you can download from this directly. You can get all the chemical and physical properties of this group, what it does, what reaction does it undergoes, everything that you need to know. If it is used in any, now here you can see there's some extra information is there, like food additives and ingredients. So it has been known to be used is in food additives as well, or in agrochemicals as well. So all the available information on these compounds will be automatically added to this database. Okay, that's another. So now when we download the structure of these compounds for any further studies, remember that once we get into the field of cheminformatics, I told you it depends on the structure. So to compute any of these properties, any of the further studies, we need the correct chemical structure of that compound. What does chemical structure mean? Basically, the composition of atoms in the molecule and their bonding patterns, and typically their 3D structure, how they are arranged in a 3D space. So you can download this structure for further studies by using this button called download. And there are different formats. Let's choose this first format, which is SDF, and save the molecule in SDF format for our further usage. I'm going to simply save it on my desktop folder as this. Okay, someone has raised hand. Priyanka, go ahead, ask your question directly. Don't. Okay. All right. So this is how we can download. So once we download, it opens in some format, some kind of a file format. As you know, when we want to save any kind of data on our computer, we save it in a file, right? And each file has a certain file format. So for example, when we write a Word file, we save it as a document format or .doc. Or when we want to submit that data, we can convert it into PDF. Now PDF and Word doc, both of them are the document file format, slightly different but has the similar information. Or when we want to save images, we can save the images in either PNG format or JPG format or any other formats. So again, the thing is, though the information is the same, the formats could be different for each. These formats or the extensions allow different software to understand what information is stored in that file so that they can deal with that information correctly. Similarly, when you want to store the chemical structure information in a file, these comes with a variety of different file formats. One of them is a simple SDF or structure data format in which you can store the information on the structure of this compound, like the atoms which are present, the bonds which are present, the types of atoms, like whether it's a carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and so on. That is what we call as a file format. So when we use any one of the chemoinformatics tools to deal with this information, to analyze this information, we need to know what kind of format it is so that software can also read that easily. So for example, if you have a let's say a file which is a movie file or a video file, now that cannot be opened by Microsoft Word because it is only meant to open the document files. Similarly, not all the software can open this file. Only certain softwares are made to open these different types of files. If you look at the file really, it's nothing but this information which is written. As you can see here, different information like atoms and their coordinates and their bonding patterns and so on. But when we open this in a software, a chemistry software or cheminformatics tool, it shows it directly as a chemical structure that we can work on. It visualizes it for us and make it easy to understand. And that's why these editing and drawing tools will be helpful. So this is one example of how to search a data in a database and what information that you can collect. Obviously, you can do much more. It's not just about the data, but you have some analysis tools as well inside this, like the structure similarity search, substructure search, superstructure search, and so on. But again, we don't have time to go through all. So now let's look at one more tool which can use this data, chemical data, and perform some basic editing or basic analysis or calculations of the properties. So now that we have, I will download one more structure of, because phenol is a very small molecule. I'll download the structure of aspirin also that we saw earlier. It's always a good idea to download the 3D structure. So let's download the 3D structure of aspirin to be used. And let's keep it on desktop to be used. I'm going to rename this file to aspirin so I know which file is for which molecule. Okay. Okay, so there is another question. Can we search for chemical reactions? To some extent, well, PubChem doesn't host all the chemical reactions, but there are some other tools available for the chemical reaction search which are better. For example, we have the Open Reaction Database, or we have the Reaxys database. So those you can use for specific reactions. The PubChem also has some chemical reaction, but those are not all. Those are only related to the compounds which are available in the database, or their biosynthesis or other kind of reactions. Okay, so Reaxys is not giving, okay, it needs to create an account on the Reaxys website, but I think it may not be free. Open is open, uh, open reaction database that can give you the lots of chemical reactions that you can find, their representations. You can download those in different formats and so on. So here you can find lots of different chemical reactions. Okay. Now, we have downloaded some structures of the molecule, but how to work with those, what to do with those. So the next tool I'm going to very quickly introduce, again, we can only see some demonstration in this introductory time. So that is called as a Marvin Sketch. Marvin Sketch is a freely available chemical structure drawing and editing tool, which can help you look for these chemical structures and more details about it, predict some estimates of its properties, or edit it or generate variety of derivative compounds from that quickly, and then use properties to calculate for those as well. It's a very simple chemistry structure editing drawing tool in a first glance, but it can do much more this than drawing the structures. So it is developed by a company called as Chemexon, and it has links to many other useful databases as well. So here you can open, you can draw your own chemical structures also if you want. You can simply take the different atoms from here. For example, here I have sulfur, then I can use carbon, I can connect them. I can draw whatever chemical structure I want to draw, I have, and then generate the structures. But right now what I will do is I'll directly open the file we just downloaded for aspirin from the PubChem. So I'll go to File, Open, and I will open the aspirin file. So when you open the file, you will see the structure of that file over here. And you can look in 3D as well, that how does that structure look like? Where are the atoms placed? Where are the hydrogens? Where are the oxygens and so on? Once we have this, there are lots of things you can do. So I will very quickly go over the basic functioning of this tool and then go to some of the calculations. On the top, you have a simple menu bar, just like you have in any other software. So which deals with input and output of your files, saving the files in different formats and so on. You have tools to modulate the atoms or change the atoms, bonds, and so on. But these two are the most useful tools for many calculations and analysis. The structure tab, which allows you to kind of, deal with the structure, correct if there are any inconsistencies and so on. So for example, I'll just do some purposeful changes into this, and let's see if we can detect those changes or what. So the first I will do is I'll change this carbon oxygen double bond to triple bond. So you can see now, obviously it cannot have a triple bond because of the valencies that oxygen possess, but that structure somehow shows a triple bond. So when such thing happens, the software can quickly detect any inconsistencies and tell you, or in the valency, or in any problem in the chemical structure, it can detect. So to do that, we can go to structure and check structure. It will perform various checks like bond length is correct or not, the R groups are correct or not, chirality is correct or not, how is the coordinate system, are there any stereo isomers possible. So lots of checks it will do. Is anything wrong with the valency? Everything it can check for any number of chemical structures and give you if there is anything wrong. So after it performs all those checks for the structural correctness, the reason is that for any further calculation, it's very important that the structure is chemically correct. Otherwise, what will happen? Your calculations will be wrong. So here you can see it shows us that there is a valency error in these two atoms. It will automatically highlight those. and it can give you option to automatically fix those as well. So when I click on fix all, it will try to fix the valency on its own if it can. If it cannot, then it will ask us to do that manually. So such kind of basic checks you can do. You can generate different 3D conf. I'm just gonna cancel it for now. Okay, so there are lots of useful things like, generating the 3D conformer of the structure you have drawn, or representing a chemical reaction by using the different types of reagents and creating the products from those, or you can generate the series of compounds, what we call as Markov enumeration, or a derivative series of compounds that you can generate very quickly and all that. The calculations tab is very useful. It has some very important properties of the compound that you can calculate no matter what, whether the compound is existing or the compound is imaginary or theoretical that you have drawn, or there are some modifications that you have drawn to earlier compound and you want to see the difference between them, then you can use this particular tool. So what we will do is that we'll open the aspirin structure. We will keep the aspirin structure also, and in another copy of aspirin structure, let's say we want to see a different form of the aspirin. And modify it slightly to see what could it be doing. So this is another copy of the same molecule where I will make some changes. So what I'll do is, instead of this COOH group, which is here, let's say I want to change this to, let's say some nitro group. So what I'll do is, I'll very quickly delete these atoms which are there, and I will use nitrogen. And we want to see, because of the editing that we did to this molecule, what will be the difference in the properties. So let's first check the properties of the aspirin one by one. So when you go to the calculations, you can do variety of simple to advanced analysis. The first, for example, is a basic elemental analysis, which allows us to compute properties like the molecular weight, the molecular formula, the mass spectrum of the compound, the composition like atom, what percentage of every atom is present in the compound, and so on and so on. So once you run this analysis, it will show you the molecular weight and the empirical formula and atom counts, the carbon 60%, hydrogen 4%, oxygen 35%. So percent wise, it will show you the MZ spectra also, how that would look like for different atoms which are present here, and so on. You can perform calculations which may be pertaining to, let's say, protonation states. So as you know, for a variety of chemical reactions, it's important to have a correct protonation state. Protonation states means the addition of hydrogen at a particular place in an ionizable group. Let's say you are considering a molecule to be a drug-like molecule. So you would like to know what will be the protonation state at which the compound will be present in the physiological conditions. Now, a physiological pH is around 7.4. So obviously at different pH, a compound may have different protonation states. So which protonation state to consider, that you can find by using this protonation. So for example, when I go to the pKa calculation, it will show me in all these calculations that what are the possible protonation states of this. So as you can see, aspirin only has one ionizable group, that is the COO minus or COOH. So that's why it can exist in two possible states. One is where COOH and another where COO minus. This is the minus state. And you can also easily find out for any compound at different pH conditions which state will be the most abundant. So here you can see that at a physiological pH, aspirin exists as a COO minus, and that's obvious. So when you use these structures for any further computational reactions or studies, you need to use a correct protonation state. So you know now that you should use this not as it is, but by removing one of the hydrogen and assigning a negative charge to oxygen. So these kind of calculations are extremely helpful when you're dealing with compounds on a computer. or the calculations may be related to computing the partition coefficient. Again, it is very important to figure out the partition coefficient of the molecule for a variety of reasons, which you can compute. You can calculate the solubility of the compound in obviously aqueous solution only. So currently, most of the models are accurate for the water solubility. For other solvents, it's not yet very strict. There are other softwares also for some other solvent, but this one only gives the aqueous or water-based solubility. You can compute the charge distribution on each atom. You can compute different types of isomers of this molecule very quickly, like tautomeric structures or stereoisomers or different resonance structures which are possible. You can generate different energy conformations, energy minimized conformations of the molecule. You can generate the topology and do some basic geometry analysis of the structure. You can also compute many other things like the refractivity index or the H bond, hydrogen bond donors and acceptors, lots of things. So you can quickly do the difference. Let's say, for example, for a drug likeness, the property of log P is very important. Log P is a partition coefficient which tells us about distribution of a compound in a hydrophobic and hydrophilic environment. So let's calculate the log P value for the aspirin. It is 1.24. So as a standard practice, it should be less than 5 to 5.5, less than 5 only. So it is much less than 5, which is good. Let's check now after the modification to this molecule by replacing the COO group by nitrogen, what would be the change to the log P? So we can very quickly calculate that also by selecting it and do the comparative analysis. So you can see now the log P has even gone down to 0.75. So what are the changes happening to these different properties also you can see. So overall, the prediction or computation of these properties can help you a great deal in preparing or analyzing your structures correctly in as much chemical details possible that you can add to this structure. So this obviously software can do a lot of other calculations as well, but for initial purpose, I think this is what you should know, that how it is done or what it can be useful for in different cases. Again, it depends a lot that what exactly you're trying to study for with these molecules. You can do different analysis. Okay. So that was a very quick introduction to the software called as Marvin Sketch. You can very quickly check that and download it also for free and just play around a little bit to know more about it. Okay. Any questions, any queries, any part of this? Is it a paid software? No. As I mentioned in the very first beginning only, it is a freely available software. Just that you need to get a non-commercial license from the website, and that license needs to be renewed every 2 to 3 months, but it is free, of course. You don't have to pay any fees for that. You need to pay fees only to access some advanced features of this. Like the basic, this one is free, but there are some, like for example, reaction enumeration or combinatorial synthesis, or so some extra advanced parameters for that you need to pay, but for just for using this version, you don't need to pay anything. All right. Okay, so that's one of the things that we can do with the help of these tools. Now, other functionalities that we saw were a representation of these molecular structures and what all other things we can do. So as I mentioned, these tools have capabilities to perform a plethora of different analytical measurements. So let's go through. Molecular docking is also a very important part, but I think we don't have the enough time to go through the entire process of molecular docking, but maybe I'll be able to show a quick demo of how exactly it is done and what it means to perform the molecular docking. Okay, so the next very quick introduction will take to some basic other similarity structure, similarity analysis that we can do with these cheminformatics tools like the PubChem, or many others are there to perform this analysis. Another very useful analysis typically in the structure activity relationship domain or the SAR domain is comparison of the molecular structures which are chemically making some sense. So these are called as structure similarity search. So this allows us to compare two structures to each other or find other similar structures which may be present in the public domain databases. So there are different types of searches we can do, like superstructure search or substructure search. I'll define this very quickly and show you how to look for those. So for example, here we have a structure of ethanol, which contains the carbon, carbon, and OH group. And here we have a structure of acetic acid, which is a carbon, carbon, OH group, and double bonded oxygen. So as you can see, the structure of ethanol is present exactly as it is in the structure of acetic acid. So the ethanol is called as a substructure of acetic acid, while the acetic acid would be called as a superstructure of ethanol. So whenever you want to do a search for any one of these substructures or superstructures, you can use these kind of cheminformatics tools to quickly do that. So for example, let's say when you do a superstructure search, what happens? So let's say your input molecule is a phenol. Okay, and you do a superstructure search on this. What it will give you now, what it means is doing a superstructure means is to find out all the other compounds which are for which this phenol structure is a superstructure. So essentially, whenever you want to do a virtual fragmentation of your compound into the known compounds, you can perform the superstructure search. So the output of this will be, obviously, one will be a benzene ring, that will be one compound reported. Then we have OH group that will be reported as a separate. So it can be decomposed into two components. If it has some other moieties, those will be also separated and their combinations will also be same. So for each one of these structure, the phenol is a superstructure, and that's why this kind of a search is called as a superstructure search. On the other hand, when we this is done for the virtual fragmentation or finding the different functional groups present on different number of molecules. Another is substructure search. So what it means, it will be reverse of that. So for whatever molecule we give, it finds all the other molecule for which our molecule is a substructure. So for example, here you can see that this is our query molecule or input molecule that we have given. If you see, this is the structure of dopamine. Now, when we perform the substructure search, it gives us all the other molecules for which this structure is a substructure. That means the structure of this is exactly as it is present in each one of this. Now, why this would be important? As I mentioned earlier, in a structural world, similar structures means similar properties or similar activities. So when you want to find a group of compounds which will be acting or which might be acting similar or which might be having similar properties, you can try to find all such substructure search. So if you look at the results, you have adrenaline, olmedin, morphine, apomorphine, phenoldiazepam, and mefloquine. And all of this, as you know, would do the similar things. That is, they might work as a pain reliever or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So because all of them contain the exactly same structure inside their structures, as you can see. So these kind of substructure search can help you identify more molecules which contain your molecule of interest. Now, they may have a difference in the intensity of their activities. While, for example, morphine may be more efficient than, let's say, phenoldiazepam. So that will depend on the rest of its chemical structure, what activity, but at least they have the similar type of activities. So those can be searched and so on. So let's see quickly how to look for the same. So what we'll do is we will draw the structure of this dopamine, and then we will look for the similar structures, both substructure and superstructure, and see what kind of results do we get. We will do this in PubChem. So let's go back to the PubChem to draw the structure. So now in PubChem, if you don't know the name of the compound, you can also use the draw structure, just like Marvin sketch, and you can actually draw the structure of your compound to search for that. So let's quickly draw. Let's put the benzene ring here. Then let's add 2 oxygens. Then let's add the carbon chain, and then the nitrogen. So that is the structure that we have. Okay, so once we draw the structure, we can directly click on the search for this structure. So whatever we have drawn, it will start searching for. Where did the nitrogen go? Let me draw. Oh, okay. I think it got separated. Let me draw it quickly again. So we should get the similar results for substructure and superstructure. It will be the separated from separate from all of this. So add. And we have to just add nitrogen to this carbon. Okay, and then search for the structure. So it will start. As you can see, it has identified the structure as dopamine. So if the structure is already present in the database, it will give you that information right away. If, and then we can go for other things. So you can see here we have a similarity of this compound to others. We have a substructure search, we have a superstructure search, and we also have 3D similarity search. So let's go through one by one. Similarity. So there are many structures which are structurally similar, like dopamine, norepinephrine, and other things, hydrochloride version of hydrochloride compound of the dopamine, and so on. So you will find all the available ways in which the compound has been experimentally studied or reported. When you go to the substructure search, it will show you lots of compounds. We have verapamil, we have nalmefene, we have hydromorphine, morphine we already have seen. So all of these drugs, they contain the exact structure as their structure. That's why these are all superstructures to our dopamine, or dopamine is a substructure of all this. If you want to fragment the dopamine into multiple fragments, you can go to superstructure. So it will show you, for example, pyrocatechol will be one compound that can be extracted from the fragmentation. Ethanol, methanol, phenol, propylene glycol, toluene. So every possible known compound that can be present in that structure, that all will be coming into the superstructure. So all of this would be the fragments that you can deal with. This helps you later associate different fragments to different activities and so on when you will study more into this particular field. And there are other compounds which may not have the atom or kind of this kind of 2D similarity, but in 3-dimensional structure they might be generating the similar type of conformation. So those will be given in 3D similarity. Obviously, there are typical methods of chemoinformatics work here. For example, to compute the similarity between the compounds, the chemoinformatics method used is called as a Tanimoto coefficient or Tanimoto threshold. This Tanimoto coefficient, or the formula, tells us the structural similarity mathematically or numerically between the two structures, so on. So that all you will be learning in the chemoinformatics and making this easy for any kind of analysis in the chemical structure. So another application of chemoinformatics methods is correct identifying the reaction between the two molecules, like for example, typically for biological molecules. So the technique that we use here is called as a molecular docking. You might have heard about this technique somewhere. So this allows us to find out if a chemical structure that we have at hand, does it have an ability to interact with a certain biological structure or not. So to find that chemical reaction, you can use the technique of molecular docking, which is a little bit advanced with the molecular modeling and then learning about it, that can be done. So just for a very simple example, let's take a very quick, you don't have to worry about what the method is, what the protocol is and anything. I'm just showing you the outcome, that how can we set up a question and answer that question by using this molecular docking technique. Just to introduce you the technique itself. So let's take a very quick example of a system where we have, let's say, Let's pose a question. So this is a system or example I'm going to tell you. So we know that curcumin, which is a very important ingredient of the turmeric, has to be known with lots of medicinal properties. We have been using this for thousands of years in our all food preparations, and it is known to be medically very active. Now, one of the ability of this molecule is supposed to be anti-cancer property. So let's put a theory. We have identified a molecule which is involved in a certain type of cancer, which is called as DYRK2. It's a protein present in the human body. It's a type of kinase protein, dual specificity tyrosine phosphorylation regulated kinase. So let's put a question to figure out if the curcumin will have an activity against this or not. Now, how would you generally do that? You will set up a chemical assay where you will get this enzyme purified. You will get the curcumin extracted and purified. You will put them together and you will use some kind of a biomarker to see, or a chemical marker to see, or indicator to see whether the chemical reaction has happened or not. Maybe through the enzyme's functional properties, maybe through the attachment of some fluorescent or radioactive groups, anything. But you will know it through some kind of a calculation. So let's use the quick molecular docking to find out whether there is a possibility of interaction or not. And the way molecular docking judges this possibility is by calculating the binding affinity or the binding energy between the two molecular structures. So if that binding energy is towards very negative, that means obviously the reaction is spontaneous and going in a forward direction. So we know that this chemical reaction is possible, that their binding is possible. If it shows positive or very high energy, which means that it is not going to go forward, it does not create a very favorable reaction. So this way we can very quickly just that. So just to show you this very quickly, what I'll do is I'll open another software just to demonstrate one quick capability of these tools. I'll use the curcumin structure, which we can search from this PubChem. And I will download it, 3D structure of the curcumin, and save it in my desktop. So here I already have the structure, the chemical structure of the protein or the enzyme called as DYRK2. I'm going to very quickly open that and directly show you the result. Don't worry about the method. Don't worry about anything what's happening right now in the window. Just try to understand the outcome or the capacity that these techniques can have with this. This is the structure of the enzyme, the chemical structure of the enzyme, which is called as DYRK2, which is present in our human body. And then we are going to test the efficacy of the curcumin against this by docking it to it. So I will also open the structure of curcumin that we just downloaded from the PubChem. Here you can see the structure of curcumin is there. So the molecular docking will tell us by studying the interaction of every possible conformation of this molecule with this protein and tell us at what position or what conformation with respect to the protein this will have the best energy and what is that energy. So this will give you some idea about whether it has an ability to act against the protein or not, and so on. This can be done very quickly, but obviously there is a huge theory behind it, which we have not discussed right now. But you will see the outcome and see how we can quickly predict the reaction between these two by using simpler tools. Okay, don't worry about the options or whatever is happening here. I'll just save the results on the desktop so we can look at them later also whenever we need them in case. So let's save them. Right now, just for a quick analysis, I'm just defining a very specific region of the protein where there is a, because I already know where exactly the enzyme, the active site of the protein enzyme. So I'm just giving that as an input to this particular calculator, which is called as docking. and then we will start the search for the best value or the energy of this particular system. So this is another technique which can have huge significance in many different studies that you do to study the biological activity of your compound, to study the interactions of the compound with others, and so on. So all of this can be done with molecular docking. It's running now. It should be over maybe in just next half a minute or so. And then we will get the pose of the compound, like how exactly it binds to the protein, where it binds, what interactions does it have, how many hydrogen bond with it makes with the protein, how many van der Waals interaction it makes with the protein, all kinds of chemical details you will get. So we have got the result. Here you can see visually, this is where the curcumin would bind possibly to the protein in this conformation. And the binding affinity of this molecule towards the protein is negative 8.7 kilocalories per mole. So it will also give you these values, and that comparatively by using some references, you would know whether those values are good or not. Now it is negative first of all, so this reaction is possible, and more negative it is, more stable these interactions are going to be in terms of their stability. So that is another technique called as molecular docking that we have. So this was a just very quick demonstration of what are the different types of techniques can be used in cheminformatics. I hope you have got some idea about what these do, what could be possible, and so on. So this is where we are going to stop. Just before stopping and starting the Q&A session, the field is very useful, very important, because these days the competition studies are also getting very much importance so that they can be completed in a very limited time. That's why the industry demands to have these kind of, all the pharmaceutical chemical industry, R&D, even if you go for your PhDs, having these skills is a very important asset for you to deal with these different types of studies on chemical structures. There are lots of opportunities once you go there. If you look for the jobs in this area, cheminformatics area, or molecular modeling, or drug discovery, or computational chemistry, which is extension of this further different field altogether. So there are lots of opportunities in these fields because the relative importance of the drugs and chemicals that we have in our life. So you can definitely choose to do something. Also, if you're looking for some good project ideas for your bachelor's or master's degree, the cheminformatics tools or cheminformatics project can be done completely from a software in a very limited time. You can reach to some logical goal to your project with that, with these kind of research. So that's about it. Now, this particular webinar was just to give you a very quick idea about what the field is and what it can do. If you want to learn the full extent of the cheminformatics, in the chat box, I have shared a link that you can follow. I will also show it. So the Learn to Upgrade provides this cheminformatics complete course with respect to the applications in the research and drug industry, and so on. So that you can check out. You can check out the details, the course content, and if you want, you can follow up on that as well. Now the time is for the Q&A. You can let me know any kind of questions, queries, doubts that you have, anything related to cheminformatics you want me to ask, you can let me know. So first question we have here is, are cheminformatics graduates recruited in pharma companies? Definitely, but it depends on what division. Obviously, if you're going for like QC, QA, or you're going for manufacturing or production or other things, obviously there you don't need this. But if you are going to R&D or the studies on the before, the preclinical studies or the discovery research. So if you go to those departments which deal with the discovery research, definitely the cheminformatics graduates are absolutely taken over. Okay, so if there are no more questions, then that's all from my side. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have got an overview of all the what cheminformatics field is all about. And I hope you continue exploring the field further, learn more techniques, and use them in your research work or in career. Goodbye, everyone. All the very best and take care.